Hey everyone, it is Friday. You made it through the week again. I'm super proud of you. Good job. I hope you're enjoying the show. We've been at this a couple of weeks now and we're just burning through titles. And again, I hope it's helping out. I hope it's exposing you to some things that you may not have heard of. And I hope you are doing well. It was a foggy morning this morning here in Bellingham, but the sun is out now. It's in the mid 30s. Not optimal, but what are you going to do? To remind you all, I was a buyer for Tower Records and Warehouse and Record Factory for like 20 years. I published Carpet Noctum back in the 90s. It was a dark art journal. Got a chance to interview a lot of really cool people. You can find on Amazon, there are 3 volumes of interview books that are out. There's a massive Neil Gaiman interview. There's a Frank Miller interview, Clive Barker. There's all sorts of stuff. Check them out. They're 99 cents a piece. They're fun. I'm an author now, and there's a bunch of books on Amazon as well. Fiction, a lot of short story collections. There's like 3 novels, that kind of stuff. But if you're a reader, I hope you are, go there and check it out. I think you will dig it. Please like, share, and comment on this video. Of course, you've heard this enough from all sorts of people. If you comment and there's something you want to talk about that isn't for public consumption, go ahead and email me at tomcarnell@gmail.com. If you're trying to sell me something, please don't. I'm getting a lot of emails now for like, hey, promote your books or promote your YouTube channel. No. And again, share it if you can. I'm trying to get numbers up. But no one's making money around here, so I don't have any to spread around. So there you go. We're going to go through the usual movies, books, and records. And we're going to go from there. Hopefully you will hear about something that you haven't heard of before. Let's start with 5 movies. First movie from 1969, AMICO se SABATA CHIUSO, aka SABATA. It's directed by Gianfranco Parolini, who did Secret of the Inca and a bunch of the other SABATA films. It's a series, spaghetti western, based on the success of the Sergio Leone movies. There was a whole slew of these. I happen to love westerns, and I love spaghetti westerns. And this one is no exception. It stars the great Lee Van Cleef and William Berger. Has to do with a rancher, a judge, and a saloon keeper hire a gunman to do their dirty work, then discover that they can't control him. Sounds like Red Harvest. Or for a few dollars more. Van Cleef starred in 2 of the 3 SABATA films. Yul Brynner was in the second one. This is Van Cleef's film 100%. He shines in this role as the wisecracking and always inventive SABATA. It's a very fun and a very intriguing spaghetti western. He's got this really slick gun in it all. Fun. I don't know what to say other than that. It's got that great spaghetti western gun sound. You know what I mean? And it's just terrific. A little bit of revenge stuff. Again, a lot of Red Harvest. Yeah. I recommend all of the SABATA films, but especially the first one. They're just great. Second film, 1983, directed by Ralph Bakshi. The voices in it are Randy Norton, Leo Gordon, who's a character actor who you've seen in a million things, and the great Susan Terrell is in this, and she just really shines. This is called Fire and Ice. It's all based on on the work of Frank Frazetta, and it really shows. The synopsis is as follows. At the end of the Ice Age, an evil queen and her son are set on conquering the world using magic and warriors. A lone survivor of a crushed village fights back, as does the King of Fire Keep. This is a beautiful film. I love this film. It's entirely rotoscoped, which was super new at the time. And what rotoscoping is they film live footage and then animate over the top of it. Bakshi did it a lot in the in Wizards, and he did it in the Lord of the Rings that he did. It's sort of the genesis of motion capture now, where you see guys in the goofy bunny suits and dots on their face, but this is done with live action and animation. couple of cool facts. Two of the background artists. One was James Gurney, who went on to do the Dinotopia, and Thomas Kincaid. If you know Thomas Kincaid, he does a lot of those pastoral, like cottage in the woods thing that you always see at like Christmas time. His stuff is beautiful. I don't see him how he got involved in Fire and Ice, but there you go. If you haven't seen the work of Thomas Kincaid, look him up immediately. You'll go, oh yeah, that guy. Also, this was co-written by Roy Thomas and Jerry Conway, comics legends, and both at one point or another served as the editor of Marvel Comics. Frazetta hired Peter Chung to work on this, who's another great animator and artist. And reportedly, Robert Rodriguez has been talking for a couple of years now about he has the rights to it, about doing a live action version. Which I don't know. I mean, it's a standard sword and sandal kind of thing, but I don't know that a live action film is going to work. I'm optimistic, but you never know. This is a classic of animation. It's beautifully rendered. Some of the action sequences are cool. Again, with rotoscoping, you get that, instead of that animation straight line like running, you get a lot of drift, which happens when someone runs. But it's a classic of animation, and violent and fun, and all of the women in it look like right out of a Frazetta movie, like waists like this and big breasted and big hipped. But it's great. Fire and Ice is great. If you haven't heard about it, then you should really go and check it out. Third film from 2005, directed by Yuda Yamaguchi and Junichi Yamamoto. It's called Meatball Machine. It stars Isaya Takahashi and Aoba Kawai. Full throttle, splatterific Japanese cyberpunk science fiction horror at its most aggressive. This little mind blower of alien parasites that turn human hosts into slaves, what they call necroborgs. It will leave you dizzy and drained in a good way. It is delightfully gory. It's like Tokyo Gore Police, if you're familiar with that. It was part of a splattery thing that was happening in Japan around the early 2000s. It's fun. Don't bring your thinking cap to this one. It's just a lot of gore, a lot of over the top cinema, and I absolutely continue to be amused by all of that stuff. Let's see, fourth film from 2009, directed by Ben Ramsey, who did Love and a Bullet. This is called Blood and Bone. This is completely unlike everything else I've been talking about. Stars Michael Jai White, Julian Sands, Eamon Walker, and Dante Basco, who is Rufio in Hook. Talks about an ex-con taking on an underworld fighting cartel in his quest to fulfill a promise to a dead friend. This is a martial arts movie. Michael Jai White is the bomb in this movie. A lot of people don't know this. He does a lot of films that I just don't know that he should. But he's also in a lot of big films. He was in Dark Knight. He was in a lot of other stuff. People don't know that Michael Jai White holds 7 different black belts in different styles. He has one in kickboxing, Shotokan karate, taekwondo, Okinawan kabuto, Goji Ryo, Tang Sudo, Wushu, and Kyokushin karate. He has 26 championship belts. This guy knows what he's talking about. There's some great footage of him online with Kimbo Slice talking about telegraphing a punch that is, you gotta check it out. This has got some great stuff in it. Like, it's all real. Again, Tom's rule of action. The further the camera back, the more that person knows what he's doing. And these are big, wide shots of him doing, just whipping backside. Couple of things that are interesting about this. Robert Wall from Enter the Dragon is in this. He played O'Hara. He was also in Return of the Dragon. Jean LaBelle, Jean LaBelle, and the great Fumio Demura is in this. This is Gina Carano's first film. I was reading that they used the song Dance Hall Days by Wang Chung in this. They originally wanted ABBA's Dancing Queen, but ABBA was, quote, wasn't having it. which is awesome. The fight choreography is excellent. The Michael Jai White is a woefully, he did Black Dynamite as well. Michael Jai White is a woefully underappreciated actor and a great martial artist. Most of his films, I mean, you know, the guy's got to eat, but he deserves way better. He's one of my picks. If my first novel, No Flesh Shall Be Spared, ever got made, he would be a perfect guy for the lead. Just putting that out there in the universe. And then finally, our last film from 1959, Terence Fisher, who was a big staple of Hammer films, did a version of Hound of the Baskervilles with Peter Cushing, Andre Morel, and Christopher Lee. This is a film I dearly love. When a nobleman is threatened by a family curse on his newly inherited estate, Detective Sherlock Holmes is hired to investigate. This was planned as the first of many Peter Cushing as Sherlock Holmes films, but it didn't do particularly well. It seems people didn't want murder mysteries from Hammer. They wanted vampires and monsters and Frankenstein and Dracula and stuff. Interestingly enough, Baskerville Hall in this is a redress of a set from House of Dracula from 1958. Some of the music was used in that film as well. But this is I think it's a great Sherlock Holmes interpretation. I first saw this back when I was a kid on Bob Wilkins' show, Creature Features, in the San Francisco Bay Area. And it's fantastic. I think it rivals the Basil Rathbone stuff. Yeah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. There are parts of it that kind of remind me of Brotherhood of the Wolf in a weird way. But yeah, Hound of the Baskervilles, you see it all over the place. I think it's available for free on Tubi, as is probably most of this stuff. Yeah, highly recommended, and you should check it out. Moving on to books. First book from 2007, Bruce McAllister. It's called The Girl Who Loved Animals. It's a short story collection. You know how I love short story collections. You may be familiar with that name. I reviewed his book Dream Baby, the Vietnam-esque psychic novel, which I think is fantastic. Thanks to Cody Goodfellow for turning me on to that. I very much enjoyed Dream Baby, and I very much enjoyed a lot of the stories in this. Go to the description of this video and you will find links not only to the trailer films of the movies, but the Amazon links for the books, as well as full YouTube playlists for the records I'm going to talk about in just a second. Very cool, delightful. As with most story collections, there's always the good, the bad, and the ugly, but this one is mostly of the good. Second book from 2025, the great Elizabeth Massie has a book called The Wage of Belief. It's a short story collection of Darkness and Dread by the Bram Stoker winning author Elizabeth Massie. In it, there's a sequel novella to her book Sin Eater, but there are other equally wonderful shorts in this as well. Massie is an amazing writer. She has a very deft and subtle touch. She's known, back when I reviewed Book of the Dead and Book of the Dead 2, she has a story in there called A Bed that was made into a film by Ryan Lesky and Phil Nutman. R.I.P. to Phil Nutman. But A Bed is one of the most squirmiest stories you'll ever read. It is fantastic. And Wage of Belief, that book is also equally good. She also has a collection out called Madame Cruller's Couch, which I also recommend. Virtually anything by Beth is awesome, and I think that you should definitely, she's one of those authors that I think you definitely need to check out. Moving on, 2013, the great and mighty Joe Lansdale did another short story collection, kids, called Bleeding Shadows. This is a collection of poems and novellas supplemented by the author's introduction. By an invaluable set of story notes. Moves effortlessly between horror and adventure and suspense, and is just great. Lansdale always delivers, and his short story collection always do as well. As usual, the aforementioned good and bad and the ugly apply, but there is enough here. Lansdale, for some reason, his Hap and Leonard books, which I've never covered here and I probably should. There's a grip of them, but those are fantastic. And his short story collection, his weird westerns, are always terrific. Lansdale is an author who, if I'm in a bookstore and I see that he has something new out or something I haven't read, I'll pick it up. I don't care what the price is. It's always going to be great. And I think, as I recall, I reviewed or recommended something else from him in the weeks past. Fourth book, 2018, Neil Chase. It's called Iron Dogs. I was on the lookout, speaking of Lansdale and his weird westerns, I was on the lookout for some weird western stuff, and I saw Neil Chase's book recommended. The story is 6 outlaws, barely a day ahead of their pursuers, find shelter in a deserted New Mexico town with no water, and one of them gravely wounded. They realize too late that they're trapped in a town that is lifeless. There are some great sequences in this. Has to do with, they're not quite vampires, but they're kind of close, ghoulish kind of characters, kind of entities. There are some great sequences in this. I just think the ending is fumbled a bit. I still recommend the book because I'll always recommend a weird western. Iron Dogs is no exception. So check it out. I got mine on Kindle for I think $4 or $5, and it was a quick read, a fun read. But again, that ending was a little stumbly, but that's okay. And then finally, this one was wild to me. 2023, the name, if anyone recognizes the name Frank Conniff, he was known as MST3K's TV's Frank. He is a comedy writer and a performer who is awesome. His book, Deep Apnea, if you know what apnea is, it means being short of breath. The cover has him, the main character, wearing like a CPAP mask. The description of this will tell you everything we know, and I'm going to read it verbatim, so excuse me for that. Quote, he comes in the dark of night on the darkest of streets underneath the bleak metal canyons of the urban nightmare. He's a new kind of legend, unlike any other masked crime fighter or avenger you've ever encountered, unless maybe you've read some graphic novels or seen a few movies or watched a fair amount of television shows. But otherwise, honestly, you've never seen a superhero like this one. So haunted, so troubled, so traumatized, so filled with sadness, longing, and regret. Other superheroes can only look on in envy. Dark apnea, you will believe a man can brood. It's kind of a take on Batman, but wildly comedic and very funny, a little silly in parts. In other words, exactly what you'd expect from TV's Frank. Highly recommended. The Kindle book was a couple of bucks. And come to find out, I didn't know this, but Frank Conniff has a bunch of books out. And I have them in my wish list on Amazon. And at some point, I'm sure I'll pick them up because I enjoyed this one so much. Moving on to records. Got 5 of them here. Let's see. First one from 2005, Richard Bone. The record is called Tales from the Incantina. Richard Bone was a founding member of New York's electronic scene. This record is quiet and relaxing. It's just beautiful. I say that a lot, but it's a great record. It reminded me of things like Chronotope Project, Eric Wallow, Jeff Pierce, and the great Mark Isham. It's a record that's perfect for late at night and for chilling out. Again, great stuff. Go to the description, click on the link. You'll go to a YouTube playlist and you can judge for yourself. Second record, band is called Zimpala. It's from 2011. The record is called ALMAVIVA. This is new jazz, kind of down tempo. It's very chill, but with beats. This is another record that kind of surprised me. Came out of nowhere on my feed. Honestly, I go through so many videos and so many lists and so many recommendation things that I forget where I get this stuff. I forget where this came from. It might have even just been recommended to me via the Spotify like new to you link. But it's a great record. Reminded me of things like Big Muff, Audio Lotion, and Art of Noise. Good stuff. Check it out. Again, hit the link. Judge for yourself. Third record, 2007. It's called PANAMERICA by Federico Aubele, who's a Argentinian singer. This is super blends genres. You can't really pin it down. I mean, it's not metal. It's more chill than that. If this is any indication, it was produced by Thievery Corporation. So take from that what you will. Down-tempo trip-hop, Latin American folk. Reminded me of things like Coop and Gotan Project. Surprisingly terrific record. He's got like 4 or 5 out, as I recall, and they're all fantastic. So again, Federico Aubele, A-U-B-E-L-E. Fourth record, 1976. It's called Impact. The artist is Charles Tolliver. He's an American jazz trumpeter. Played with the likes of Jackie McLean. This is very much mid-70s New York City jazz. It's punchy. It's he was nominated for a Grammy. It's again super punchy, super syncopated. Reminded me of things like Arthur Blythe, Harold Land, Joe Henderson, Tom Scott, Bob James, that kind of stuff. It's gritty and fun. Yeah, check it out. You're gonna love it. And then finally, 2001, Badmarsh and Shri are the artists. The album is called Signs. English electronic dance duo. They played with Nitin Zawani, if you know who that is. Drum and bass, hip hop, Indian classical music, and jazz. It's another surprise. This one came out of nowhere, and the minute that the record hit the record, the needle hit the record, I was transfixed. Enjoyed this very, very much. Reminding me of things like Transglobal Underground, Fundamental, Black Star Liner, Finger Thing, Asian Dub Foundation, and Propeller Heads. Just fantastic. Has that sound of like South Asian Indian dance club kind of a thing. Not disco, but it definitely has a beat, has a backbone, and is just fantastic. And that's going to do it for this week. I do want to recommend, if you go to my website, tomcarnell.com, go to the top. There's a bunch of links there to other pages. Click on the link marked Bonus Material Podcast. This was a podcast I did a few years ago with Langley J. West, who's an effects artist and artist. Heather Buckley, the great Heather Buckley is on that. Brian Ellison, who's kind of a film historian dude, and a bunch of guests. The shows are 2 hours long. The first hour is like usually an interview or a discussion of a specific genre. Second hour is news. It's like trailer reviews, who died, and things that are coming up. Most of that stuff is already come and gone and happened, but the first hour, all those interviews, we interviewed some great people there. Giovanni Lombardo Radici, John Amplis from George Romero's Martin, and a bunch of other stuff. We even got him to talk about gangster films at one point, which is pretty awesome. Matt Winston is on there. There's a ton of people. You can go there. There's like 200 episodes, and there's some great stuff. We talked about a lot of stuff with a lot of very, very cool people. So check that out. I think that's it. Go to my Amazon page. Remember, again, I hate to sound like a broken record, but please like the video. Please subscribe to the channel. Comment. I get back to people like Lickety Split, and share them to your social media. I would greatly appreciate it. Really trying to get this channel to get bigger, get larger, have more people tuning in. And I don't know, who knows, maybe I'll start to include some interviews. Other than that, I hope you all have a good weekend, and we'll see you on Monday.